the way I sort of saw the Katt Williams thing, he's like, let me set the record straight, and it's sort of this, let me give you the real map.
Reactivity is hyper polarized is one of my things about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes all the way to one side, and that's part of the getting your response.
And so when 8s are angry, it's a boundary thing. It's like, get the fuck off me. It's always a feeling of, you're not supposed to be here. And so the anger is a way to create space.
The big hormone enneagram.
The thing about 6 is like they create these polarities where you don't have a choice but to choose a side.
I'm John Lekovich, 405, sexual self-pres, 458 Trifix.
I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual, 9 with 1 wing, 974 Trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8 wing 7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a social self-preservation 9 wing 1, 963 Trifix.
Like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and leave us a review. If you want to support the show with a donation, you can find us on Venmo at Big Hormone and paypal.me/Big Hormone.
Do we need to do any business, like you want to mention your Egypt thing, or?
Yeah, trip's still on. We've got a fairly good group going, and we still got room for more. I think last I read in the group chat, January 28th is the final date for anybody to sign up.
What was it, 28th?
28th. I think,
Okay.
16 is better, but
Yeah.
there was back and forth between the 16th and the 28th, so we'll see what happens. But
Part of my deal on that, too, is just I'm not sure if I've got the attention for that many days.
Fix.
Yeah, Is
I
there a
will
way to
say-
do it? Is there a way to do it like 3 or 4 days or something? I don't think there's. It seems like there wouldn't.
no, and we will be switching locations too. And I think even with someone with a lot of 7 energy is gonna find a lot there.
Yeah. Okay.
Just need to bring like a designated attractive distraction.
Yeah.
So
Are there
accompany
gonna be-
David.
Are there going to be any chicks at the pyramid?
Yeah.
Then he'll be occupied completely, no matter what.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't really know the.
Yeah, I like
I think we've got.
I'm not a
8
serious.
people
You
signed
guys
up.
don't see me as a serious scientist.
So we just typed Katt Williams for our Enneagrammer members. It's fucking hilarious. You can join to watch it at enneagrammer.com. We're also kicking off the year with the series on Bermuda overlays. Overlay is the combination of your fixed wings, and for Bermudas, the overlay is a significant flavor we thought it'd be cool to explore in detail. So you can check all this out at enneagrammer.com. I think one thing that's been spinning around, I guess we could start on frustration, but somebody made a post, something about what people might consider as reactive. People might think, might confuse frustration types for that. And so recent discussions for us is like trying to get at like, okay, how do you differentiate the reactivity of reactive types versus the irritability of frustration? Because when people see somebody complaining and going off, they're saying, oh, that person's reactive. And so that could be an interesting thing to look at, reactive versus frustration. Maybe start as a way to get into frustration. What else is spinning for you guys?
I liked there was something you said when we were doing the exchange about social blind friendships.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Somebody had asked a question about that, and I think it was a 2-part question about like it's been coming around for whatever reason the last couple of months. People have been asking, so how do social blinds have friends? And I'm like, you've been listening to a podcast for however many long, seeing social blinds have friends. So there's that. And then the other question was, how does sexual show up in, I guess, non-sexual romantic situation in friendships? And it feels
cool.
like an old topic, but probably could hit that.
Yeah, that one has a little bit of juice for me. I would say, just off the top of my head, of just between frustration and reactive is like frustration types can have all kinds of reactions, but reactivity is a strategy. It's like a way of handling, like getting information and handling a problem. It's not just having a reaction. It's like it's a specific mode of what do I need to get to in order to like make this situation work or conflict work or whatever. Like what do I need to know so this situation gets works? Like especially like compared to positive outlook and competency. The idea, like with the harmonics, is something about the harmonies, right, between the types. How you how they do it, like they pair the Hornavians and the harmonics, and so you get like a reaction and then withdraw for 4 or something. A reaction and then can't quite remember how they paired up, but
hold on, let me make sense of that because I get confused with whatever the Hornavians are.
That's
react.
That's the assertive,
withdrawn, and compliant.
Super compliant.
Okay.
So like nine would be positive outlook and withdrawn, and I frame that as like ruminating on your idealizations of people. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's like internal, that kind of fantasy idealization thing.
And then so harmonics are reactive, positive competency.
Yeah, harmonics have the kind of 3 shape.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
skipping
7,
a number.
Skip 8, then 9, then skip 1, and then 2.
Which is what it looks like on a piano. Also, like a major chord. That's what you do on a piano.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's harmonic in that way. The first, the third, and the fifth. Yeah.
The way I think about it, is like positive outlook, hopeful outlook or whatever. It's not necessarily that they're like, this is great, or ignoring the bad, which is how a lot of people frame it. But it's more just like, I need the light at the end of the tunnel in this conflict.
Yeah.
Like with 2, it's like, I need you to see that I have good intentions. With 7, I think it's something like, we're going to get out of this somehow.
Yeah.
With 9, it's like we're still connected. And so, if a 9 thinks there's still the connection's still there, they can go through a lot. If a 2 feels like you're still seeing their goodness, they can go through a lot. So it's not about avoiding negative feelings. It can get that way, I think. But people often just frame it as positive outlook is just about feeling good, which I think is really superficial. And then reactivity, it's like not just like having an emotional reaction, because any type can do that. But reactive is specifically, it's like pinging, where's your location?
Yeah.
And so
what's the bottom line truth here? What's actually going on underneath?
Yeah, so I mean, like when we had our conflict and I had to freak out, it's sort of like I was sort of like throwing the throwing off the stuff off the table to be like, it's all really bad. That's where we are, right? And
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about this, like the different ways 4, 6, and 8 do this, and my 8 perspective is that I don't know who you are until I find out what you would do under the worst pressure. And so maybe the 8 is going to like create a high pressure situation, to provoke. What are you going to do in the worst case scenario? I need to know what you're capable of. That's the real you.
And that's kind of what I was getting at one of the pods I was talking about, where like 8 humor is like sort of I don't know, almost like violent banter or whatever. It's kind of sort of along those same lines. It's not doing the same thing exactly that we're talking about that reactivity is, but it's sort of being in that environment of sort of brutality and what you're going to be like. If we can do that even in our banter, talk about killing each other or whatever, then now I know who you are or something.
Yeah. And I guess 6 is in the head center, just like really I guess this Katt Williams thing is like the bad thing that's underneath what everyone is up to. Like And this is the worst case scenario that they're up to.
Or like
Right.
what they're thinking. The worst
Yeah,
case
yeah.
scenario of like what they're thinking. Like what your
Yeah.
perspective is.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, trying to make the map like the way I sort of saw the Katt Williams thing was, I didn't watch a lot of it, but he's like, let me set the record straight, and it's sort of this, let me give you the real map, and then
Yeah.
but also I'm going to give you the map of how so you, the listener, can look at these other guys' interviews
Yeah.
that were saying bullshit.
Right.
And not
That's true.
just know that they were not just know that lying because I said they're lying, but because like, would it make sense if they asked a 5'5", 145 pounds like man to play Santa Claus? He's
Right.
like showing the whole thing so that you can apply logic
Right.
to what he's speaking to and see the map yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
feel like there's some element of that kind of a deal in six reactivity.
Mm-hmm.
And with that one fix, it lends some knowing the right map to the 6 who you kind of normally doesn't,
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
It's
To
a
get
lot
to the
more.
right conclusions.
Yeah.
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 And I guess the fourth thing, at least from my perspective, is just I'm gonna be difficult to see the truth or the rottenness of people's false identities or how shallow people might be. And so being difficult is a way to sort of provoke that.
There's a kind of maybe it's like related. Like I see it very similar to what you're speaking to, Emeka, as an 8, but like from a withdrawn point of view. It's not as much kind of like putting that trolling pressure on people. There's a little bit of that, but it's sort of this sense that people's identities are unknown to themselves, and like that their real self isn't really like people are preoccupied with the bad ideas they have about themselves versus like their reality. And then there's also something I noticed too of like a certain way, like I'll have a joke that's kind of a reactive joke, and it'll be kind of gauging what someone can hang with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that fits on the.
I mean, I think they're all doing that. 4, 6, and 8 are all kind of doing that because the 6 is the self-sabotage thing is like trying to dare you to abandon them by fucking up. And I think some 6s had asked questions about like, how do I stop myself from doing this? But that's part of the reactive thing of I'm going to kind of go into the worst case scenario just to see how invested you are in this attachment thing. And I think the 8 thing is, the rejection thing is similar, where I'm gonna show you I'm gonna amplify maybe the worst aspects of my personality just to see, can you hang? Can you handle it?
I'm talking about the 4 space. I think it was in our admin chat. Like Joseph was saying something like, if I'm trying to get you to like me, that's fake. So
Right.
I'm not gonna do some whatever positive, whatever encouraging thing. You've got to like me, my real colors or whatever.
Right. Which is usually at my worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I relate to that. Where I don't feel like if I ever catch myself feeling like I need to get this person to like me, then I'm flooded with shame, and I so. Yeah, there's a little bit of just like putting my flavor out and seeing the resonance. But what I was gonna say about 8, I always feel like 8's one of their reactive styles is, I think especially like I think all people have this sort of thing of like, all right, our kind of relationship is like building or we're getting closer. And then 8 will suddenly like say something that sort of is like, actually the distance between you and I is like way further than you're thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm over here.
Yes.
And
that's good.
And I see how that like, like that kind of like shocks people a little bit. Like, you're, so it's like, oh, you think we're here. We're actually over this way. And there's a little bit of that. And like, and I think from the 8's point of view, maybe that's the reality or maybe that's like they're just putting it out there and seeing like how it affects the person to, is the person doing this like buddy kind of thing, or is there like an actual connection, or
Well, I think part of the thing is the sort of fractional view of people. Like I see different facets, so maybe we're close in this facet, and people sort of take that closeness to mean that we're close across different facets.
8 is more modular, kind of.
Very, very specific about I can count on you here, and that's it. If you try to like come at me and from another angle, we don't even know each other in this facet.
I can see it. I can see it also too as partly maybe like the 8 responding to generally the attachment landscape. And sort of possibly doing somewhat of an overcompensatory, nope, this is we're much further away and not attached or as attached as you thought we were. But I don't know.
I guess I don't experience, like, to me, it's like, I mean, I'm very sensitive to this is where I can count on you. And I will never allow myself to put myself in a certain facet with someone where I don't think I can count on them. So it's like I can talk to you about these things and you're good here and we're really close there and we're always going to be close in this area. But if that person wants to then become close in another area, it's like, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, and so it might be, I can see some attachment types who might feel like, oh, we're buddy across all facets. And it's like, no.
That to me is like in the symbol, in the sense that, again, the thing I've brought up before about the triangle is an abbreviation of the circle, which is to say, which one of the things that means is that attachment types are assuming a well-rounded attachment, an all-aroundness. Right? Yeah.
That's definitely not what it is.
Yeah, right.
How would you distinguish what you just, like, I can rely on you here, not here, from some kind of more like a competency perspective?
Well, because the rejection thing is that my sense of an environment is or even myself, my relationship to people is this thing of, what are you like under pressure? Because that's who you are to me, is what I can count on when the chips are down. And so, for example, if it's like, all right, we all deal with the Enneagram, it's like, I can count on you guys for psychological insights. And this is something where you can go all the way deep in, we're really close. But for example, when it comes to something like business or something like, maybe there's this other person who I know I can really count on when the chips are down. And so it becomes it's like, okay, I have like an innate fractional sense of I deal with you in this way because we have like a potent dynamic here. And I'm gonna try every single dynamic this is the leverage of this dynamic. I'm only interested in what's potent about whatever it is I'm doing.
Go ahead.
And so I don't experience it as competency because it's just, this is what's strong about what's happening here. Why would I deal with?
It's not necessarily about like rising through excellence like competency is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like an instinctual sense of like, if I'm in this group, for example, there's a certain kind of chemistry that this grouping has, and I'm always trying to find it. And there's kind of like a body intelligence for, this is the sort of, through line for what works for what's potent about our group.
This to me is another expression of my overlaps thing with SPSO and 8, where what you're describing there, one way to frame it is as like SPSO commodification of different things. Each person, I can get this commodity here and these two here, etc.
And I think it doesn't even matter of intelligence. I think 8s just innately have a sense for, that's like the deal making kind of thing. Just knowing like this is how we can make a deal. This is the best deal we can make given what's available. So there's kind of a animal intelligence for that kind of thing.
Animal intelligence around seeing that bottom line reality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
would you guys say that there's a way that the reactive types are provoking from their particular center? And what I'm meaning is that they're trying to get the authenticity of that particular center. Like 6 is provoking to get your thoughts, to get your like real mental location. I wouldn't say 4 is necessarily trying to get an emotional location, but like an identity one. Like who are you?
Yeah.
And then what you were saying earlier about like what you were saying, Emeka, earlier about seeing who someone is under their most intense
What
pressure would be like a behavioral reaction.
Like what would you actually do
Yeah.
in physical space?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
When pushed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And I also see the reactive types as being reactive against stimulant, as like, how do I, as finding, and I don't know if finding the location is the way to say that, because I know that 8 and 4 have identification with already knowing where they're at, but I do still think that there is a way that they react to the stimulus presented in order to find where they're at. And so kind of what you're saying, if somebody is infringing upon your boundaries, you know where your boundaries are because you're reacting to the thing being pushed on you.
4 is doing a lot of that.
And same thing with 4.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
4 has
good.
a
That's a
ton
really
of
good point.
disgust in response to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is especially 4 and 5 can, or 4 and 8 can be diluted in like this is where I'm at, but it's like it's a reactively formed location.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too, is that the reactivity is hyper polarized is one of my things about it. So it goes all the way to one side, and that's part of the getting your response, is that you're going to say something, even though it's not your actual location. I mean, you might feel it's your location as a reactive type.
Yeah.
But you're going to say something that's really polarized, just, to see what the person does with that whole.
Yeah. Create a worst case scenario and see, okay, where are you at? Because, I mean, my view is that life is probably going to be a lot worse than whatever I'm going to throw at you. So this is a stress test.
Right.
Because I need to know what you're going to do when something worse happens. Because that's what I really, that's who you really are. I don't want to know who you are when things are going well. It doesn't tell me anything. I mean, maybe it's amplified with 4 and 6, but why would you make it easy? Why would you not make it difficult? Because that's what you really want to find out, is because that's what we're going to have to deal with anyway. It's a difficult situation, so I want to know what you would do.
Yeah.
Under duress.
Yeah.
There's
Or like what you could handle. Maybe handle is too attachment a word, but like what your response would be. I guess that's the way to sum it up.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing, David, what you were saying is that reactive types will say or do, or I don't know, just put out there a really polarized version of whatever it is that they're experiencing, thinking, feeling, etc., specifically to provoke the reaction of whatever is across from them.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, because nothing's gonna get to the underlying truth quickly, because that's the other piece to me about reactivity. About those 3 harmonics. This DG abstractions here, but like reactivity is fast, right? It's like the timeline is fast, and maybe competency is mid in terms of like some kind of abstract timeline thing, and then positive is slow because it's like a big yes, so it's got to take in more or something, and so to get to that underbelly quickly, you go to one side in the extreme and see the response.
Yeah, that tracks. That's good. Reactive being fast certainly tracks.
Yeah. Trying to provoke reactions. And I think I said that once, that 6s don't realize how provocative that they're being. I think that's
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. All the reactive types are, I don't know if it's aiming to be provocative, but by trying to uncover this, where are you really at? Like, what is your worst case scenario? I'm going to try to provoke you
But even I mean, my experience too is that there's just like the emotional eruption. It's just it's kind of eruptive, and
with what? With 6 or with all 3 touch or
I think
reactive
with all
types?
3. I remember being a really, really little kid, and my dad was reading Baby Beluga to me and my brother, and we were like, I think I was still in diapers or something, but I have this like still this memory of it, and he was like reading it in a silly voice or something, and I was like, I got really mad, and as a little kid, I like slapped my dad, and I got in a lot of trouble. I got spanked and stuff like this, but I remember like kind of being shocked that I did that. As a little kid, I remember the little book.
Was it like a big, like a hard slap, or just like a kid slap?
I mean, it was a kid slap, but it was like in my dad's face. Just like I'm like a little kid, and then it was like I don't remember much of just fragments, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, like when like it takes me a while to get there, but when my emotional reactions get there, like they get there, it's like this,
yeah.
And I mean, I've experienced that with other 4s and with 6s and 8s as well. So there's just like I think of it often as there's a certain like need, like pushing out to get my own space is sometimes how I feel it. Is like something has upset me or something, and there's just like kind of feeling I get.
Yeah, we were talking about how trying to find different terms for it, but it feels like you're trying to purge something. It feels like I've got to get my feelings out on the table as a way to like express where my location is. And maybe I'm figuring that out as I'm expressing it. But it feels like that, like you're, like a fire breathing kind of creature needing to like expel poison.
Yes. Yeah. Get the poison out. Definitely. Yeah. It's just like I mean, I'll feel kind of, maybe it's a withdrawn type thing, but like kind of like a claustrophobia, like an emotional claustrophobia, where it's like it's all like this, and I need to kind of to get my space back.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting that. Because in the body center, I mean, because I'm very sensitive about boundaries, and that's a huge 8 thing. And so when 8s are angry, it's a boundary thing. It's like get the fuck off me kind of thing, and it's always a feeling of you're not supposed to be here, and so the anger is a way to create space. That's what the anger is going to be about.
I resonate, but it's wait, how did you put it? Like there's something
you're not
like,
supposed to be here.
You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
because it feels like that, but in a heart level for me, where it's sort of related to identity thing, is like I'm always trying to see in a sense like where your heart is at, and I like my thing is like, oh, I misjudged who they were. I was believing that they were this place, or that they were resonating with me in this way, and I'm trying to discover if my impressions of how we're resonating or who you are accurate or not. And I'll think they're accurate, and then I've had times where it's sort of like I realize how I wasn't really seeing the person, and it feels like this, like a poison feeling. It feels like, oh fuck, feels like some kind of something got inside me, and I was too fucking stupid to have seen it coming or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that sense of violation in the body center is something I can relate to. Like you let somebody into your boundaries, and they're just like, oh man, I realized I can't actually count on you here. And so then the reactivity thing is like, or not, maybe not even that. It's like, all right, boundaries are adjusted, and maybe that person comes back, and it's like, you're not supposed to be here. This is unavailable.
I think, and I think also it's important to understand that like reactivity isn't just like when you're upset. It's like a whole structural thing. So it's like your humor is a little about putting up pressure,
Yeah.
And so there's like some sort of spectrum that we're kind of getting at, where there's like getting the poison out, and then there's just sort of, what are you doing? Where are you at? Where are you at? It's kind of like feeling somebody.
That's where I was going to go. Is like if you can frame reactivity as wanting to get to the bottom line of what's really going on, and as a reactive type, because it's part of the structure, you're building up, let's say, flames, right? You've got this fire, and you're, let's say, on some level, I mean, it's not exactly the right way to say it, but you know that that's not reality, and that's not the bottom line. So you got to purge, you got to blowtorch it out, and then to find and to come back to baseline, to what real baseline is, or something. It's like you built up too much fire, or
Yeah, that kind of gets at something that I kind of see with reactive types is there seems to be a really like excitable nervous system. Like it's like quick. It's always kind of like a hot pan in a certain sense.
Yeah.
And something else or another place I was going is the specific combinations of reactive plus rejection, reactive plus frustration, and the reactive plus attachment. Those have obviously different expressions, because like I think the you don't belong here in an 8 and a 4 sense, being hexa, there is like a you don't belong here thing. But I think the responses is very different, because 8 will just push away and close the door. Like the 4 doesn't really do that. It just kind of expresses all of its frustration, you know, in response.
Yeah, frustration has the yes, but, or something, or no, but, or something.
It's like yes, but still no.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing, I don't know if you guys saw the thing Joseph just posted in the group blog, but another abstraction. Well, a couple of things. One is that the attachment type in these triads we're talking about, I'm suggesting, is the root entity, right? So like 4 and 8 are stemming off of 6. And looking at the triangle, I'm suggesting 6 is that bottom line, okay? Literally that bottom line of the triangle, okay? And so that's what reactivity's seeking out, right? The reality on the ground. 3 is the line going up, right? Competency rises, excellence rises, right? Goes up. And then positive outlook, it's the down line, which kind of doesn't make sense at first, but it's that the wishing, the hoping, fantasizing, dreaming, hallucinating actually doesn't get it done, doesn't accomplish, isn't competent. And so it's kind of like attachment to disconnect, where attachment types are disconnecting to create the work of attaching. Well, positive types, you know, it's the hope and wishing 95% of the time isn't going to work. And so you're working against that through a defense of positivity, because you can see that things usually don't work out, right? Or something. Yeah.
Oof, that's a hard hitter for the positive outlook types.
Yeah.
Your hope is futile effort.
Most of the time.
Yeah, you have to be competent in something to make it happen, not just hope for it to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing that always kind of blows me away, is the endlessness of the hope of the positive types. Like the
audacity of hope.
Well, it's just you get burned so many times, and you just keep coming back for it.
Yeah, no, for me, it's kind of like it's similar to what you're saying. Like with positive outlook types, or hopeful outlook, it's like it's not even necessarily going back to the same thing, but it's like the same strategy or something like that. For me, like they'll employ the same tools or something like that. Yeah, it's just expecting different
results. Yeah.
No,
that's the thing that doesn't make that's what doesn't make sense, because I'm like,
doesn't make sense. But
I mean, you didn't do anything different this time, that you're just hoping that if you just stick it out, it'll work. And I guess that works sometimes, but
yeah, I mean, you especially see it in 2 and 7 because they're bigger personalities. No, I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm just going to.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep loving you, and telling you what kind of love you need, and
Yeah, if I keep like, you know, hooking up with these guys that don't give a fuck about me, like maybe I'll something, I don't know.
Something will
Like,
happen.
yeah.
So I kept thinking, well, maybe what you need to do is just keep experiencing more pain until you experience enough pain that you give up. But I don't. It seems like the well of hope is so deep.
It's eternal. It's eternal.
Yeah.
Well, and this is that gets at 9. This is again abstract, but 9 being the centerpiece for positive, because it's like 9 is attached to the connected into the whole universal cosmic vast life force, you know, of just so it's that elemental thing that is, you know, it's just an eternal fuel source for
Eternal,
positivity.
yes.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's this riffing in a similar direction David's saying, or maybe it's totally different, but for the positive outlook thing, there's a little bit of, it's not necessarily that they need to feel more pain, but it's sometimes connecting. It's like getting specific about the pain and how that's related to whatever choice they're making. Because like, okay, if I'm like hooking up with these kind of guys and doing these kind of drugs, like, you know, and this is not satisfying to me, like I am making the choice to do this style of pursuing relationships or experiences, and I'm expecting just to find the good one out of all these, like, kind of the pattern itself is already self-sabotage, right? But I'm gonna keep applying this pattern and just kind of using a sort of a cheap novelty. It's a new person or a new drug or whatever it is, metaphorically speaking or literally,
literally,
and it'll get a different result. But you know, kind of, and maybe it's like kind of with David's offshoot of the central type, but like there's something about like not connecting that they're like the choosing part or something like that. You know, it's like like 7's, even though they like are probably identified with choosing,
right?
It's like using the same pattern to not really choose. You know, you're just going for the same thing. And with 2, often has this sense of, I'm not really choosing. I'm just obeying the will of love or something. And
that's
so anyway,
a good point. That's interesting for 7. The not choosing part, because I mean, so much of my reality is like, my entire reality is a choice. This is happening because I wanted it to. And so you kind of assume that all the assertive types are doing a similar version of that. And there is kind of like enacting your will on the environment thing, but there is like a childlike wonder with 7 of things are happening and I'm just riding the wave of possibility. And when things don't work out, I didn't really, it just sort of happened. So, I
mean, 2, 7,
it happened.
9, right? Yeah, 2, 7, 9, each in their own way are, doing just, well, it's magic that we came together, or whatever, that we found each other.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess that's part of the hopeful engine is. Yeah, if you're giving yourself over to the wonder and possibility of the universe, then you can continuously hope. And if you're not the one making it, manufacturing these outcomes,
that's interesting.
Then you can continue to keep drawing on that well of possibility.
And maybe I'm backtracking on myself, but I was sort of saying that like you don't need to hurt more or something, but like I think positive outlook needs to hurt in the right way, because there is this like way that I'll see positive outlook types moving through experiences, not really registering that those experiences are incurring damage. There's like this is resilient, this is renewing, but it's like, but it's actually taking a lot out of you.
It's hurting you.
Yeah. And I mean, 7 is just such an easy one to like kind of exemplify as a joke, but like keep doing drugs and hooking up like that, like it's having an effect on your like physical health. It's making you jaded. It's da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, but I'll do it this way and I'll work out, that kind of it.
Yeah, I could see someone with a 9-7 stem saying, no, I need to keep doing all these drugs. I'm actually getting better at doing drugs and living regular life.
It doesn't sound like
just an
you at all,
experience.
David.
And
I don't know where
it's
you got
just
that idea from.
experience. And I mean, just someone with a 9/7 step.
Someone that we might know.
Yeah. That has these philosophies, this wisdom.
Very functional thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm becoming a functional, hallucinogenic person. Unrealist.
Hopeful philosophy.
Yes.
Hopeful is good. I really like hopeful because positive doesn't really.
Nah.
It's not specific enough.
Yeah.
I wish we could find something better than reactive, but it still kind of works. But it doesn't
I
really.
think reactive works.
I like reactive.
Yeah, I feels like something needs to be a little bit more more severe about it.
Or I mean, yeah, it's tricky anytime there's a one word thing, but also reactive can sound like just a crazy person who's reactive, which is which is really only the sixes, not fours and eights.
Well, you see, people see
them at all.
People see like the frustration types being difficult, and they're like, oh, they're being reactive. And that's part of the reason why I was like, there's got to be a way to differentiate what frustration types are up to versus,
Because, I mean, the frustration thing seems more like they'll have like a tantrum.
Yes.
Mm.
A 1-ish tantrum or a 7-ish tantrum. And like, I haven't observed as many 1s as I have 7s, but like, when a 7 does freak out, it's not this like getting at where your location is. In fact, sometimes they don't want to fucking give a shit about where your location is because it's about, let's get this over with, or get it out, or expel it, or get past it, or something. And likewise with 1, it's like they're not looking at like, what's your locate? Where are we located relative to each other? It's like, I don't care because this is right this way. This is how it should be. Your actual location is negated by this principle or whatever.
Well, I guess I could see how someone experiencing a reactive type may not be able to sense that the reactive type is trying to figure out where they're located. I mean, if I'm upset, I'm upset, and you might not know that I'm trying to locate myself relative to you or provoke you. You just know that I'm upset, and so you could look at a frustration type being upset and be like, well, what's the difference between reactive type being upset if you don't know that they're trying to locate?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that would be, maybe that's a bigger conversation. But what I see with frustration in comparison is that there is a way that frustration is saying it should be this way, and not in a super ego way, but like it should be the way that it's not.
True.
Not like, I'm trying to find a better way to say that so that people don't confuse that with the superego shoulds.
It's a
the superego should
specifier.
is like a code of conduct versus frustration is like it should be this kind of magical utopia.
I'm thinking of it sort of 7-ish, like I don't like this menu. There should be other things on this menu of options. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and straight. I'm thinking of like Greta Thunberg too, of her whole reaction with the climate change. It's a whole thing of like, yes, there's the superego behavioral sense of like, you guys should be more upset by this, but there's also, it just should be different. Maybe that's a bad example because she's a superego type.
But it's the 1 is really invested. I mean, 7 and 4 might be in their own way, but it's in more than correcting, just telling people that they're wrong. You know?
Yeah, there's a pretty big difference there. A pretty big difference there because it does feel like the reactive types are almost more call outs. Even if it's not a direct call out, it feels like a way to incite something in the other person. And
it also just feels like a response. Like it's a response versus a correction, maybe, or like a criticism or something like that. We get into murky territory because 4 is both frustration and reactive, and so there is a reaction and there is a criticism.
The worst.
The worst type ever.
Double whammy.
So that's maybe that's like something to talk about, is like what happens when those two forces come together.
get
Yeah,
the greatest.
because like
thinking-
8 and 7 are obviously very different. They have like they are both responsive in a certain way, but 8 has a like no, there's
Mhm.
like a versus yeah.
Yeah, 7 will
something to
bitch
tease out.
and complain. They'll go on a rant, and you're is this reactive? No, it's not really involved in inciting a reaction in other people.
And it's not about getting to the truth
Either,
or what
Yeah.
could
Mhm.
actually happen or
Mhm.
something. Yeah.
Or even finding their own spot with 7. Like 8, I do always feel like is finding their location in their reaction. 4, I feel finds its location in its reaction. Frustration, I don't necessarily feel like they're doing that. They feel like they already have it.
Yeah,
But again, then we hit the crossroad with 4. Like, do
Yeah.
they have it or don't they?
yeah. When I get angry, it is always about specifying a location, occupying a location. It's like
Mhm.
my anger lets you know where you shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And 7 doesn't feel that way. They might do it out of entertainment. Just like, I'm going to rant for the next 30 minutes about this annoying barista who got my drink wrong. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
fun or whatever.
Well, it's also like a release valve. Like a
Mhm.
7 will get a
Mhm.
fucking huge reaction to something that's kind of inconsequential because
Hmm.
it's sort of a safe way to discharge frustration.
Yes.
So yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, they got my drink order wrong." Oh, and you're like, "What the fuck is this coming out of here?" And
Well,
it's like, "Oh, well, this is somehow a safe spot, however that makes sense for the 7, but a safe spot to like release
Yeah,
that
yeah.
frustration."
Well,
Yeah,
that's
and then-
also like coming back to the baseline, kind of like I was saying about reactivity. Coming back to maybe a baseline of positivity would be to offload a bunch of frustration.
Mm-hmm. And frustration it's going to be negative. So this whole idea
Yeah.
of the reactive types are uncovering negative truth, that gets murky when you compare frustration and reactivity, because it's not going to be positive for frustration types. Stuff that they don't like that's happening.
Yeah, I mean that's
Mhm.
like another one to look at look at all of them, but like 7 is frustration and positive, right? So how the fuck
Mhm.
does
Yeah.
positive outlook even make any sense with frustration
yeah.
on one level? Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
I keep having in my mind, we're talking about like 1 in frustration with super ego, but then we've got reactive and super ego with 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it's these different annoying layers that like, it's almost like there's not enough types to create enough contrast to pull some of this apart.
Yeah, it was like, the Katt Williams interview. It's like, yeah, he's calling out a whole bunch of people, but he's also kind of like showing people this is the wrong way. They did it wrong, and they cut all these corners. How can you trust these people or believe what they're saying? Because they did wrong things to get where they were, and so there you can see the superego, the reactivity.
Well,
yeah.
There's a thing with 6 around, of course, as a superego type around, being defensive about being a good person and who's a good person and who's not a good person is a big thing to be, surveying the landscape for. And so 6s, that's a big piece of how 6s are doing the reactive function is by accusing somebody morally, of morally you're a bad person. And I mean, for essentially any type, some types more than others, that's going to put somebody in an extreme reaction in response to that, is to say, you are bad.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, globally or whatever.
So many people had to respond to that thing because he called out so many people with like real serious, accusations. And so you had to respond to it. And that's part of the reason why 6 feels the most reactive.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
agree.
can't, 4 and 8 are in their little locations. Like, you got to get into the 8's world to deal with their reactions, and 4 is withdrawn. But 6 wants to get everybody talking. And so
Well,
they're
it's
the
not
ones that
even-
get the most psycho.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily talking, but everybody on the same page. Like he specifically responding or reacting to the narrative that was put out there. And of course, it's like backed by a 7-wing and a 4-fix and a 1. I don't know if this episode has dropped yet. So
it's
okay,
fine.
whatever. It's backed by all of these frustration types, but at his core, he is responding to the perspective that was put out there, because 6 does have a thing where like it kind of struggles with this idea of everybody having individual perspectives. It holds out this like belief that there is an ultimate objective truth. And so he was responding to like the truth.
Right.
It's getting people on the same page, or it's with your reactive, whatever blast, you're gonna see who goes to which side. Right. And now you see the teams. Okay, now I see black and white, and I know who's against who.
Because the thing about Six is like they create these polarities where you don't have a choice but to choose a side. So he's saying that look at the people who respond to this. When you sell your soul to Hollywood, the thing that you're going to do is to say that you didn't do it, or that you're going to downplay that what you did. Look and see how people respond. So if you respond and say, Katt Williams is crazy, Katt Williams is jealous and petty, you're one of them. And so it just creates this no-win situation where you have to respond, and if you respond one way or the other, you're going to be on one side or the other. So he's created like a black and white situation. Sixes are insane. No one of the type can. I mean, eights can whip up a lot of, but it's usually eights with six. Usually eights with six. You got to have six to be able to do this effectively.
Hitler was an 8. I don't know.
But he had 6. He had 6.
Yeah.
You don't have 6. What's your excuse?
I'm cool. I'm chilling. That's why everybody likes me.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody.
The most liked 8.
The most chill. Yeah.
The most chill. No, I mean, 6 is a superpower if you're trying to be a psycho out here in the world. You need 6.
Well, finally making some converts here to my war on 6s. My global mythological war.
I haven't seen anything like this. Like, he put out an interview, got 15 million views in less than 2 days. I was like, I need to watch this. And I was like, holy shit, who talks like this?
God. And he just went in instantly. Within the first 3 minutes, I was like learning too much about people I've never heard of. I only got 20 minutes in because I was like, man, this is a lot of like, that like electric feeling in it. So I don't know how was it just that for 3 straight hours?
Yes. Like bomb
insane.
After like you could skip to any point and listen for 5 minutes. You're like, holy shit, that's. But he also like he was also like really personable, and there's a lot of advice in there. So it's like it was more entertaining than a lot of comedy specials. And I think he's also got a tour, that he's promoting. And so who's not going to want to go see this dude live, because he gave you everything. He's teaching you about Hollywood, and he's exposing people. He's also being funny.
No, I appreciate it.
Being funny. He's fucking funny.
Yeah, I appreciate it at the level of just someone being so, almost like advertising themselves, unconsciously as a negative person. Like, you're going to see, but the guy is actually, I think, underneath it, like a good person. You know what I'm saying?
I think so too.
But it's like that thing of not, just needing to be liked or be nice.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate
that kind of gets you a more actually nice, good person.
He was. Go ahead.
He had so many funny like affect things. Like I didn't watch. I watched like about 25 minutes in, and then I watched like a highlight thing because I was like, I can't. I'm gonna have psychosis if I keep going. But, like his thing with like like 2 things that stood out was like, one, when he talks about, or like they had cognac or something.
Yeah.
And he like takes a sip of it, and he's like, this is a fine product. It was like very like his forefix like really there. And then he went on this thing about talking about Money Mike and how like, or I guess gonna be like the character was gonna be like raped in the movie, and then he advocated that he didn't, but I kind of thought he did in the movie. I don't remember how it actually panned out in Friday.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But the way he was talking about it was like, this movie will not be funny if this, a black man gets raped. But he had this like, this like, just you could see like the light of heaven opening and like the beams on him. You know what I mean? It was like the righteousness, and I mean, it was like legit. It was like legit righteous. But it was just like he was like, his voice got a little softer and a little more like this, and it was just,
He's a cartoon character.
Oh man,
it was so interesting. And he's a little guy,
He's a small guy.
and I don't know, it was just real fun to watch him.
His affect is funny to me because he actually met Prince and was friends with Prince. He met Prince when he was 12. Like, he's known Prince.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they're actually like decent friends. And he said that part of the thing where he was like Prince, like they were so close that Prince, all his car collection was every car that Katt owned because they shared cars or interest in cars, musical lyrics, and women, and those are the three things that Prince trusted his opinion on, and so Prince would get cars because of Katt. But I could see some of his affect in Prince, like they talk similarly because they're from the same part.
That's true. That's true.
Like he has like just I'm sure they hung out and like they were actual friends.
Two little guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Two little guys with one fix and a 4 fix.
Right. No, it was fun.
How tall he is. Now I'm curious.
I think
He's like 5'4" or 5'5" or something.
Wow.
Like
I
that.
think Prince is 5'3".
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
really?
5'3".
Wow.
Yeah, he's my height.
Damn.
Yeah, 5'5". Katt Williams. Yeah, so they're both just little guys.
But I mean, he
Little guys that
dresses
pack
to
a punch.
yeah, dresses to the nines. He's extremely charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy hair.
Yeah. Yeah,
Lots
he
of
always
bling.
kills me. Yeah, and he's so animated and theatrical in how he delivers everything. That was so impressive to me. He was so articulate and so entertaining while delivering just like the most ruthless stuff.
Yeah, and
Which brings-
his go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, his affect being so animated and all that kind of stuff was especially impressive because he was talking and kind of flooring that fucking football player that was interviewing him. This guy's like
Mhm.
3 times his size, and he was just kind of like, he was just kind of like, I can't believe you're saying that, like just, and he didn't really have any room to speak, it was just
Right.
kind of this like, he's like this little tiny guy just generating so much energy, and this like big
So
guy
much.
who's very muscular is just like
Right.
kind of overpowered by his energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen some of his specials, and he just the way he takes over a fucking
He's
arena
so
full of
good.
people. His
Yeah, yeah.
energy is so huge.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so funny. Which, speaking of another Social Sexual 6, have you guys watched Chappelle's new special?
I saw it.
on
Yeah,
I thought it
Netflix?
was okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
wasn't-
okay too.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
But the first
But it-
joke about the when he hit you with that trans joke, I was floored. I was like, I can't believe you're talking about this shit still.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's like
And
what
I want him
want
to keep talking about it.
That's kind of where I'm going with it. Is that he is another reactive type that is constantly reacting to the discourse around him. Like in a certain way, he won't give up on that one note because people won't stop reacting
Right.
to him, and so
Gotcha.
he has to react back.
Reactive
Right.
juice.
And then,
right.
and then even in this one, he decided to like react to it by punching down on a different group.
Right.
I'm too social to like get into it on a public
Right.
platform, but. Even he's another good example. I mean, most comedians have that reactivity too, so even that's a kind of interesting thing to bring up.
Yeah. I was floored. I was like, that was such a long setup, and I was like,
I know.
Oh my
I
God.
know. He's very
maximum
crafty.
reaction, like
Exactly. There you go.
but I guess Chappelle's specials are great, but his standard is so high. Like the first couple specials he did when he came
That's
back were like legendary specials,
They were.
but this is still great. It's just
good. Yeah, for sure.
for Dave Chappelle, it's just okay.
It also seemed really short, but maybe
Yeah.
that was because it was good. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, like I don't know anything about his like where he's at personally, but
Dave Chappelle, you mean?
yeah. Like I don't know like where his journey is or something, but
Oh, okay.
it did seem a little bit more of to address the reactions. Like it didn't
Mhm.
almost seem like it had its
Mhm.
own
Right.
point.
Identity, yeah.
Like sometimes, like one of the things Chappelle's really good at is he does bring in these like sort of long stories into the middle. He's like joke, then he tells like a long story that has like, like he even did it in this one where he was like talking about being a younger guy and
Yeah.
thinking the club beneath them like interrupted and whatever. And then he has like a couple like really funny punchlines. He's really good at that, but like this one felt like it was based in reaction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
like he's reacting to the reaction to him, and it wasn't like, oh, I've got my own funny whatever to share, something like that. Like he's in the past, his specials have felt more like he's got like a whole original vision of his he's bringing forward, original critique or something like that.
Yeah, I talked to OD about it. He's saying that the first couple specials he did, I mean, he was probably working on those jokes and refining those jokes for probably goddamn over a decade because he was gone for so long. And so he's saying that if he has enough time to really craft, it takes a while to really craft jokes and build on them. And it's been like maybe a year since he did another special. So like that's not enough time to really get those intricate jokes. Still good, but it's not, hasn't had enough time to do that. And also as a famous comedian, it's really hard to get stage time to really work on your jokes to craft them.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Because before he came back, he was just doing impromptu shows, and then he came back and now he's like fully famous again. So it's harder to do.
Yeah.
My sister Lucy came and visited, and she and a friend went to a comedy club, and Chappelle and was it Chris Rock?
Chris
Yeah,
Rock.
they've been hanging out.
Yeah, they both
Probably.
just like walked up on stage and started riffing, like
That's
just
nice.
while my little sister was like just in the audience of like a nothing comedy show.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he was probably workshopping material then, or maybe not. Maybe it was too early. But even speaking of Chris Rock, he's a 6, right?
He's a 6, but he's Self-Press Social.
So he had a recent comedy special that was based entirely in reaction to the Will Smith thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, he
Will Smith
waited.
being slapped. Did you?
Was it good?
Really?
Oh yeah.
It was.
He went
it was pretty
in.
good. He was like reacting to it almost instantly. Where he's talked about like Snoop Dogg or something like that, and he's like, "Well, I better be careful with that because I don't need another black rapper mad at me." This kind of like setting up the punchline for his like finale, which was just to eviscerate Will Smith.
Well deserved, because he could have reacted immediately. He waited and put out a special and made money off of it. I don't know if I could have took that though. I don't know. Oh
no,
yeah,
well,
he did.
no. Body reactivity is going to be super different.
You got slapped on national TV. We're fighting.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Like we're past the point of like our careers are damaged at this point, so I'm not gonna just stand here and smile and take this shit from you. No.
Yeah, what's Chris Rock's body fix? Probably 9.
9.
I don't know actually.
How could he? I don't know how he could have just sat there and just finished the rest of the night.
I feel like it could be 1.
Yeah, his style is kind
Really?
of frustration-y. Like he's got like a
Possible it's 9, but I think 1 feels
it's
right.
probably 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the waiting thing,
Yeah.
that's wild.
I
Well,
can see 1 waiting more.
yeah, I can see that.
And he sure, like, if you guys haven't seen it, it's worth watching just to see his response because it was really sharp.
Is it on Netflix? Where is it?
I saw it on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 with 1 is watch out.
Oh,
I feel like they're even worse than
Yeah.
6 with 8 because it's more verbal.
I think so.
They're going to eviscerate you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think like 612, 613, 614, they're all a different version of Karen,
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
It's the last person you want to deal with.
The last
with the
one
one fix.
you want speaking to yourself as manager.
New year. Yeah, I like the way this year started off. This is like an explosive year. Going to be an 8 year. Let's go. Last year was a 7 year. Add up all the numbers to a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like next year will be my year.
Mm-hmm.
Me and David Taylor are going to take over.
If we
Over for y'all.
survive the
If we make it to 2025.
yeah, because 8, I mean,
That's fair.
could be
Yeah.
total destruction.
Well, the thing when I asked you guys about like words and language around 6 with 8 fix, and you said something about like the authority thing, but you said something about like usually like an early life male authority.
It's so common.
Like, yeah, God, that's
What
a
about
thing.
that? What about
yeah, just like an early life, male authority in early life is a common thing for 6s in general.
Sure.
Like some kind of mentor, or some
Oh,
kind
for sure.
of,
Yeah. Even like a Mike Tyson or whoever, they're interviewing this tough guy, and they'll be like, well, this coach,
Yes. Yes.
or this person is why I'm the person I am today.
Totally.
And I mean, 8s can do that sometimes, but it's just they're not going to lead with that as a sort of like, here's my origin story and why.
No, 6 is very father oriented, and that leads on to mentor, etc.
Simp for daddy.
Yeah.
That's what 6 is.
Yeah.
And then try to overthrow daddy and kill daddy.
That's it. It's both. Of course.
Yeah, overthrow daddy.
Everything's 50-50.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
if I-
exactly
That's it.
Whatever they
It's
give you, the other side's coming. You know, it's like I hate that. I can't.
everything. I mean, it's literally everything is, and it's not 70-30. It's exactly 50-50.
It's split
On
personality
everything.
disorder.
Alexandra
like-
has an aunt that's like all her aunts are 9s except this one that's a 6, and she's got this like 9 with a 2 fix husband.
Mm.
And for a while, like she just like pieced out and like lived with this guy in Texas or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the 9 guy just like took it, but it was just this like, boom.
Wow.
Now she's like, now I'm back, you know. And it's just the rubber band thing.
Which person am I going to get today is a big thing. If you talk to with 6s.
I think 6s just got to end up with 9s. I don't know who else. They're
Yeah.
made for 9s. Like that's
No,
the
I mean-
only.
There's a polarity thing, and that's why I've got that. I'm 50-50 about 6s, right? It's like because I want to abuse them, you know. Which,
If you could order exactly the ideal perfect specimen partner, would it be a 6 or would it be
well,
a 9 for you?
well, all I can say is like on the very first Love Line call, the
Mhm.
two most. I mean, this is just sex, right? The two most intense sexual relationships were with SPSX 6s.
6s.
Who I just wanted to fucking kill. I mean, just kill. I mean, one was a 684, one was a 613.
Eesh.
Just fuck.
Jeez.
One was hard.
Well, I guess that's an ideal sexual relationship, but like
that's that. No, it's definitely not the actual long-term.
the actual long-term relationship.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
Maybe it's just a revolving door of several types.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to say because it's really not about the type, is it?
Yeah. I might like to do an 8 again. See what happens there.
That's true.
Kind of trouble I can get into.
That is true. So it's self-contained kind of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You're trapped.
In the 8's environment.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's not so bad. It's like you got to come in here to deal with my shit. If you're out there, you don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't even know the half of it.
But before we end, Alexandra got obsessed with this show called Scandival, and it's about this like restaurant and these guys that all like cheat on each other.
Oh wow!
And I guess that Alexandra and Ikram have both been watching it, and I think they should do an episode on it because there's new season coming up, but also like as social types and stuff. And Alexandra got really obsessed with it because it's like this guy Scandival is like a 3. And
Is that an offshoot of Vanderpump or whatever?
Or no,
It's
Vanderpump.
called Vanderpump. Yeah.
Oh,
I've been calling it. Because that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the guy's name's Scandival or something.
Okay.
And so anyway, but they should do an episode on it, and it'd just be like a fun social type episode.
All right,
Hey,
guys.
fellas.
Yeah.
Peace be with you. All of you.
Later.
Okay. See you guys.
All right. Bye.
Raw, no, fucking filter, crooked needle, hot head. Raw, no, fucking filter, crooked needle, hot head. Self-inflicted, what you tell me, I just told them hell's existence. But you know me, don't nobody know my business. My presence, plug your confidence. You wanna